So what if we get a call from across the galaxy, but we're not even sure if it's real? That's the huge question right at the center of one of the biggest space mysteries happening right now. We're talking about a strange repeating signal coming from an interstellar object called 3I/Atlas.
Yeah, and it really all boils down to just these six numbers. They're repeating, just like clockwork, beamed out from the depths of space. And the pattern, it feels almost intentional. But what does that even mean? To get a message that you can't be 100% sure is a message? That's the story we're diving into today, the razor-thin line between a massive cosmic discovery and a worldwide delusion.
All right, so this whole thing kicks off with 3I/Atlas. Now, this is only the third interstellar object we've ever spotted passing through our solar system. It gets its name from the telescope that found it, no surprise there. But here's the kicker. Unlike the other two visitors, this one started talking. A repeating signal, a pulse, was picked up coming right from its location. And you can bet that got everyone's attention, immediately.
So what makes this signal so incredibly compelling is its frequency. It's broadcasting at 1420 megahertz. Now, if that number doesn't mean much to you, don't worry. For decades, scientists SETI, that's the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, they've called this frequency the water hole. Why? Because it's the frequency that hydrogen, the most abundant element in the entire universe, naturally emits. The idea, the hope, has always been that any smart civilization out there would use this quiet, universal channel to say, hey, we're here. And after all these years of just listening, it sounds like we might have finally heard a knock on the door.
Okay, so let's get down to what we actually know for sure, the hard facts. First off, this signal is 100% real. It's been confirmed by different observatories on different continents, so we can rule out any local interference. That's huge. Second, it's stable. It repeats at these really consistent intervals. Third, we know exactly where it's coming from. 3I/Atlas. The coordinates are a dead-on match. And maybe the craziest part? The pulses were perfectly synchronized over a distance of 15,000 kilometers. This is not some glitch in the system. No way.
Okay, so if the signal is real, the next logical question is, what is it saying? Think about it. If you wanted to send a message across the vastness of space, one that anyone anywhere could understand, you wouldn't use English, right? You'd use the one language that's truly universal, the language that doesn't care about culture or biology. You'd use math.
And that's what leads us right to the Fibonacci sequence. You've probably heard of it. It's a really simple pattern. You just add the last two numbers to get the next one. But this simple sequence is like a fundamental building block of the universe. You see it everywhere, from the perfect spiral in a seashell to the shape of entire galaxies. It's like nature's own signature for design and complexity.
And wouldn't you know it, here it is. Look at the signal's pattern again. 8, 13, 8, 5, 13, 8. This does not look random. It's built using three consecutive Fibonacci numbers, 5, 8, and 13. To anyone who speaks the language of math, this isn't just static. It looks like a deliberate structure. It looks like a fingerprint of intelligence. Or does it?
And right here, this is where the story just completely splits in two. You've got two different paths. On one side, you have the slow, careful, methodical, scientific observation. And on the other, well, you've got this explosion of speculation that's just spread like wildfire all over the internet.
So, the viral claims are, really dramatic. We're talking people saying the signal's been decoded, that the object is an actual alien probe. But the scientific reality? It's much, much more cautious. The fact is, there has been absolutely zero official confirmation from SETI or anyone else. You've heard the saying, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in this case, all these huge claims, they all trace back to one single social media account, not a peer-reviewed scientific paper.
And this is the phrase that absolutely took the internet by storm. This is the so-called decoded message from 3I/Atlas. It's cryptic, it's powerful, and yeah, it sounds like it was lifted straight from the script of a sci-fi movie.
But here's the most important thing to understand, the crucial point. This phrase has zero basis in scientific fact. None. There is no verifiable source. It didn't come from NASA. It didn't come from SETI. It just appeared on social media and then took on a life of its own. It's a really compelling piece of viral fiction, but that's what it is. Fiction, not a decoded message from the stars. But okay, just because the decoded message is fake, that doesn't mean we can just dismiss the object itself as being normal. Far from it. The renowned astrophysicist Avi Loeb has actually documented several very real, very strange things about it. For one, its path is almost perfectly aligned with the plane of our own solar system. The odds of that happening naturally are incredibly low. It's also massive, and it has this weird anti-tail jet that seems to wobble.
So to help you picture this, think of a normal comet, right? Its tail always points away from the sun because of the solar wind. But 3I Atlas has this faint jet that's pointing towards the sun. And it's not steady. It seems to be wobbling, almost like a spinning top. This is the first time we've ever seen anything like this on an object from outside our solar system.
So why? Why did this story, especially the fake parts, get so big so fast? The answer, I think, has a lot more to do with us, with human psychology, than it does with astronomy. It really taps into that deep, fundamental desire we all have to know, are we alone out here?
One of the big reasons is something called cognitive bias. Basically, our brains are pattern-finding machines. It's an old survival skill. But that same wiring can make us see a face in the clouds, or a rabbit in a rock formation, or, in this case, a deliberate message in a bunch of cosmic pulses. We are just hardwired to search for meaning, even if it's not really there.
And you know, the misinformation in this story was so effective because it was clever. It mixed real scientific terms that people had maybe heard of, like Fibonacci sequence or the water hole, with total speculation. By wrapping the fiction in the language of science, the made-up claims got this veneer of credibility that they just hadn't earned.
So after all that, where do things stand now? Let's take a look at the current status of the investigation and what everyone is waiting for next. All right, here's a quick rundown of the timeline. The object was discovered back in July. Then in September, the first pulse was detected. From there, things escalated fast. The UN actually held an emergency session in late October. And then, just a day later, the last pulse was detected. And right now, the object is on the far side of the sun, totally hidden from our telescopes. And the signal, it's gone silent.
So for now, the scientific community is really in a tough spot, a kind of no-win situation. If they come out and say the signal is definitely artificial and they're wrong, they lose all credibility. But if they just dismiss it and it turns out to be real, they risk missing the single biggest discovery in human history. So the only truly honest answer right now is the one they're giving us. We just don't know yet. They're watching, they're waiting, and they're getting ready for the moment 3I/Atlas comes back into view.
And that just leaves us with this one final, really profound thought. This whole thing has forced us to look at our own assumptions about the universe. It makes you wonder, what if 3I/Atlas isn't the first visitor we've ever had? What if it's just the first one we were finally advanced enough to actually detect? Maybe we haven't been alone because we're special, but because we just weren't listening properly. The countdown to an answer is on.